participation in, first, the creation of the World Health Organization. And my role as Assistant Director General for 24 years. I attended every meeting of the World Health Assembly and every session of the Executive Board. The Executive Board met twice a year. The Health Assembly met annually. And I was present, exercising my functions at these meetings. I didn't miss a single one.
Professor Siegel, how did Dr. Chisholm regard family planning in those early days as a potential concern for WHO?
Brock Chisholm was a realist, and he firmly believed that overpopulation was a threat, a security threat, if you will, to all the nations of the world. And steps must be taken, and it should be considered part of a health function that we do something about population control.
So you ask yourself, if that kind of a guy was the one who became the first Director General of the WHO and worked on its establishment from the beginning. So, what is the WHO?
The World Health Organization is the institution granted exclusive power to guide and protect the health and wellness of humanity. The WHO is sustained by private donations, the bulk of which are made by pharmaceutical and biotech corporations who have a vested financial interest in the organization's support. In 2017, the Associated Press reported that the WHO routinely spends about $200 million a year on travel expenses, more than what it spends to fight some of the biggest problems in public health, including AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. The WHO's repeated issuing of inaccurate and bad advice is not merely the result of incompetence, but rather the direct result of the Communist Party of China deliberately buying out WHO's leadership.
And what the DoD and the World Health Organization intend to do, and have gotten quite far in doing, but not completely reach their goals, is to set up the entire world as their geographic terrain, their target population as all the people in the world, the duration of their campaign as permanent, and the weapons that they're using are, number one, informational, that's the propaganda piece and the censorship piece. Number two, psychological, that's the fear and terrorism piece of telling people they need to be afraid all the time and they need to listen to the government. And then the third piece is the chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear weapons, which are called in their campaign pharmaceuticals, vaccines, but are actually toxins and pathogens.
Do you remember swine flu?
The seriousness of this problem.
You were really frightened.
The numbers are staggering. Well, first of all, they are estimated by the World Health Organization to affect 2 billion people worldwide with H1N1.
Many countries, including Germany, Italy, France, and Great Britain, concluded secret agreements with pharmaceutical companies before the swine flu incident, which obliged them to purchase swine flu vaccinations, but only if the WHO issued a pandemic level 6 alert.
The world is now at the start of the 2009 influenza pandemic.
In 2010, Forbes magazine accurately reported on the WHO's fraudulent response to the swine flu. The Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe declared the false pandemic is one of the greatest medicine scandals of the century. By their own rules, a pandemic requires simultaneous epidemics worldwide with enormous numbers of deaths and illness. 11 weeks into the outbreak, only 144 people died worldwide, and the WHO declared a pandemic. Just 1 month before, they changed the rules. You could now have a pandemic with 0 deaths. And when questioned, They claimed the old rule never existed.
Now, there is some confusion here, and I hope to clarify. Having severe death has never been part of the WHO pandemic.
The WHO director, Dr. Margaret Chan, then went on to push left-wing politics, the redistribution of wealth for equity and social justice, and claimed that a welfare state is the savior of globalism. Over $18 billion was misallocated on this fake pandemic. In 2005, Dr. Peter Doshi published a paper entitled, "Are U.S. Flu Death Figures More PR Than Science?" drawing upon data from the CDC. The CDC bundles together influenza and pneumonia and counts them together, which is strange because according to their own data, there are far more deaths caused by pneumonia than the flu. For example, out of the 62,000 pneumonia and influenza deaths from 2001, only 18 cases were lab-confirmed influenza, 0.03%. From 1979 to 2002, there were an average of 58 influenza deaths per year.
While the WHO has a track record of spinning the wheels of fake pandemics on the world, the year 2020 was no exception, as a replication of the same old tricks by the WHO was unleashed, another fake pandemic labeled COVID-19. However, in the wake of this failed plot, this evil organization wielded yet another deceptive sinister bait, to capture the nations through the pandemic treaty also known as Pandemic Accord, to seize the sovereignty of all nations.
This is actually worse than what happened in COVID, because they don't even have a standard that says they have to isolate a pathogen. They don't have to isolate anything. What they have to do is simply say, we think that there is a reason to declare an emergency, and as such, we therefore have the ability to suspend travel, to actually penalize member states. There's a very big clause inside of the treaty that actually has penalties on member states for noncompliance. So yes, the Tedros official statement is, oh, no, everybody still has their sovereignty. Kind of like New York had sovereignty during the pandemic. So if you feel good about how New York treated everybody during the pandemic, then you're probably safe.
They're bringing in an idea called One Health. And this then extends the ability of the Director General of the WHO to call a public health emergency of international concern, which incidentally is abbreviated to FAKE. A fake.
He is able to declare a fake if it's just a potential, actual or potential. And this is very concerning. In 2022, last year, the Director General declared a monkeypox fake.